Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tactical Tips brought to you by the Independent Dealer Podcast and our friends at Neo. Neo, again, is an underwriting program that takes the human element out of it. We get excited, we want to sell cars, or we repo cars and don't want to sell cars. What Neo does is it takes the numbers, the actual true numbers, puts them into an algorithm and spits out whether you should be financing that customer or not on that particular car or not. So if you're looking for using an underwriting program, I can't recommend anyone better than Neo. So this week, we're going to talk about goal setting. Goal setting is always important, but here at the end of the year, you really need to sit down and decide, okay, how are we going to set goals? What are we going to set goals to do? And how are we going to hit our goals? Well, this week we're going to talk about what are some tips to go about setting those goals. The first thing we do when we go to forecast or set goals for next year, we make sure that we understand this year's numbers. So what we'll do is we'll compile all of this year's numbers into our worksheet, and we'll use those numbers to set next year's goals. And we'll decide then, can we sell more cars? Can we repo less cars? Can we collect more money? Whatever we can do, but we have to use this year's numbers to create realistic goals for next year. So first of all, this year, get your goals together or get your numbers together for this year so you can create next year's. Number two, be very specific. So I don't care what you're selling. When you set goals, you need to be specific about how many you want to sell. And not only that, how many do we want to sell this month or this week or per day? Also, if we're talking about repossessing cars, how many do we not want to repossess, or how many do we expect to repossess next year? What steps can we take to repossess fewer cars next year? And so by being specific about numbers, being specific by dates, we can really dial in on how we can set those goals. Number three, and we kind of already talked about this, but what are the areas we're going to target? What are our target areas? Let's say we sell tons of cars. We don't really need to sell more cars. We can't afford to sell more cars. So we may look at doing something different. Our target may be the exact same sales-wise as it was next year, but maybe this year we're going to say, you know what, we're going to take our gross profit from $3,000 a car, $3,000 a widget, whatever it is, to $3,400 per unit. This will make you more gross profit with less overhead more than likely. So be specific, define exactly what we are going to do going forward with those goals. Number four is, can we track and measure the goals we are setting? Super important, because if you can't track or you can't measure what's going on, you're just putting goals out there and willy-nilly may hit it. I've talked about this before. If we want to sell more cars, then we need to probably get more appointments set, or we want to get more leads, or we want to get more applications. So we got to make sure that we are tracking and measuring those things so they can lead to our goals. If we want to repossess less cars, then we need to track and measure things that are going to end up getting us to repossess less cars. And that would be, hey, what are our promise to pay percentages? What are our call numbers looking like? How can we contact people more often? So make sure you're tracking and measure those things so that you will hit your goals. Number five, appoint someone to hold you accountable. Now, luckily in 20 group, if people are members of 20 group, you have to set goals before you leave each 20 group. And we have our chairmen of the board, our fellow 20 group members, that will allow us or hold us accountable. I have friends that call me all the time. Jeff and I talk all the time. We're holding each other accountable. We're making sure that we're hitting our goals. If you don't have a 20 group, number one, I would recommend you joining a DPG group or whatever to make sure you have that accountability. Take someone in your office, or your wife or your husband or whoever, and get them to hold you accountable, because that is going to be a big deal. And number six, this goes along with the being accountable. Write this stuff down. Write it down specifically. We're going to hit this goal by this date, and there's no holding back. And communicate those goals to other people so they can also, again, hold you accountable. Hey, I hope this helps you looking forward to 2023. Have a great year. Thanks for watching.